Good evening. It is February 2nd, 2022. It's 5:15, and we're ready to start our regular meeting of the Androscoggin County Commissioners. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, all commissioners are present. Commissioner Poirier is present by video. All right, we have two meetings to accept and approve the waiver of the reading of the minutes. Let's take them separately. First, let's take January 5th, a motion to approve with a waiver of the reading of the minutes.
I make a motion to move with a waiver a waiver of the reading of the minutes for the meeting held on January 5th,
And a second?
2022.
Okay. Any discussion about those minutes? And I'm assuming, Commissioner Mason, you want to abstain. I think that was before you joined them. Okay. All right, all in favor? And Commissioner Poirier? All right. All right, thank you. So that is unanimous of the voting and one abstain. Okay, now January 19th, motion concerning these minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve with a waiver of a reading of the minutes, the minutes for the meeting held on January 19th, 2022.
And a second?
Second.
And I will be abstaining from this vote. Any discussion? All those in favor? Commissioner Poirier?
In favor.
Thank you. That is 6-0. And one abstaining. Okay, review and approve the bills, part-time deputy payroll. A motion to take a look at these bills in front of us.
Chair, I make a motion to approve payroll manual warrants 2205 and 2225J.
Okay, a second?
Second that?
Okay. Discussion. Questions for the treasurer or the administrator?
There's one item, it says Financial Center Association, 4,500.
That's the DA rent for the Lisbon Street office. Yep.
Any other questions? All those in favor of accepting? Commissioner Poirier?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's 7-0. Okay, Maine County Commissioners Association, I think that meeting was a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
they don't have
No
any.
meeting this past. Commissioner Kelly, Central Workforce Board.
Nothing at this time. They are currently getting things organized.
Administrator.
Okay, just very quickly, I'll go over a few things here. Dealing with ARPA requests, questions, projects, et cetera. The probate renovations are ongoing. They are progressing very quickly. One of the opioid loss negotiations. The tax commitment is before you tonight for action. Just an FYI that last year's, because it does include overlay, last year's overlay was about 177,000. This year is about 184. Reviewed the legislative report provided by MCCA, of which you have copies in your packets. Had a discussion with the Secretary of State's office regarding commissioners filling vacancies. And for two of you, Commissioner Plourde and Commissioner Mason, the next general election is obviously this year. And I have been told that the nomination is by caucus. You have to go back and caucus as opposed to running in a primary. And they will be getting that to us sometime in the summer. I had a net energy billing review with Encore Renewable Energy. They would save us considerable money. However, they're currently having a issue with Central Maine Power, where they may have to redo their contract, and so we're kind of on hold on that. 2022 budget booklets are ready for completion after the tax commitment is approved, hopefully tonight. And life is good in Androscoggin County.
Some of those issues, I think there'll probably be some questions, like the energy contract and all. Do we want to just take them up after the presentations? Is everybody okay with that? You have another opportunity to bring those items up? Okay.
I'm in favor of that, because then you'll forget the questions, so, yes, that'll be good.
All right, any comments from the public? And Dave, I'm going to depend on you to look on Zoom and see if there's any comments from the public there. Fantastic. Okay, let's move on to new business, and under ARPA, we have some presentations, and pleased to have an Angels Wing with us, and Deborah and Deb, and you have a group with you, so.
Yes, Alicia, we
Alicia.
have Jeffrey and Jen.
Okay, great.
A lot of support. Yes, please. Jeffrey's going to hand out the presentation to everyone.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I'm just going to warn everyone, if public speaking, if I depended on that for groceries, I'd starve.
Thank you very much.
Deborah York, I'm founder and executive director for An Angel's Wing. We are a nonprofit located in Lewiston, Maine. Our mission is to ensure each individual has every opportunity to live, learn, and recover from substance use. You can follow along with me with the presentations I passed out, or you can take it home and read it, burn it, whatever you want to do with it. I got involved with I founded An Angel's Wing because substance use has been an issue in my extended family and my immediate family over the years. We became foster parents to 5 siblings because of drugs. My son suffers from it, and one day he came to me and asked me for help, and I got on the phone, and we owned our own business, self-employed, and no insurance, so when they started telling me $30,000 for, 30 days, it wasn't feasible at some locations, and other locations there was no beds. So he ended up going back to using because we couldn't find a bed. And I thought, boy, what can we do to solve this problem? Because it's a serious problem, and I thought, boy, if Goodwill can do it, why can't An Angel's Wing? And that's how An Angel's Wing was founded. Slide 2, AA currently provides services to people seeking help into recovery. We locate and find rehabilitation and detox and sober living beds. We provide transportation when necessary, host Nar-Anon groups, listen and give guidance to families and friends. We provide phones when someone's in need to do their groups from home. Medication whenever it's necessary to get into rehab. We've paid for, sadly, some funerals. We'll do whatever it takes to help someone get into recovery and keep them there. We partner with local organizations, and we give out household items, clothing, warm clothing, boots, shoes. We partnered with the PAL program, and we assist children in need. If you go to slide 3, the overdose rates are at an all-time high, and that doesn't seem to be relenting. So far, just in 2022, we've already assisted over 10 people. And that's, once you see our numbers for last year, you'll see how dramatic that is. Then slide 4, the problem. The problem right now is lack of beds for detoxification, lack of beds for rehabilitation. Some people don't know there's help available, so lack of information out in the public. We have people that call in to get services and we lose them because we can't find beds quick enough. We lose people when they have to sit at home because a lot of the organizations that we call, the actual client has to call themselves and they have to call back and they have to call back and they have to call every hour. And if you're not aware of what withdrawals from drugs and alcohol is like, it's very miserable. In most cases, they can't get out of bed, and being on the phone trying to talk is a feat in itself. A lot of people can't afford treatment. If we had $30,000 in the bank for every person that called, we could get them into a bed immediately, and that's sad. We actually have for-profit companies calling us to fund people that have called them because they won't give them a scholarship bed, which is very sad. When we do find a bed, they're admitted for detox. It's usually 5 to 7 days, and for rehabilitation, 30 days. And then they release them back out into society with no follow-up plan, no plan in place at all, and just, you've done great, here you go. And that's a problem, because that's where a lot of people go back to using. Organizations like that lack training and education, and they expect everybody to learn and heal the same. And if you are educated in the field at all, you know that not everybody heals the same. We all heal differently. They put people in charge of sober living homes that have very little time of sobriety under their belt. So they could be in recovery for 2 weeks and start managing or opening a recovery home. That's a problem. That's been, and I could tell you stories, but I don't want to keep you here all night. They come out of detoxification and they skip rehab altogether. They go to live in a recovery home, and they're put to work immediately, whether it's for that organization's company or another company, so they can pay their rent. So they haven't even had 45 days under their recovery belt, and they're put to work out in society just so they can pay their rent on their sober living home. That's a problem. There's too many for-profit companies that are in it for the money and not in it for helping the individual recover and getting back on track. And basically, it's about getting them clean and dry, or sober, and back out into society. There's partial hospitalizations that we've worked with in the past, and it only works for people that have been detoxed. So if they say that they have a detox and they're a partial hospitalization, that's incorrect. They have to go get detox first before they can actually enter that program. So once again, we're back to 8 beds in the state of Maine and 1,000 people that need them. Treatment's not individualized. Once again, this is the way you have to heal, and this is the program. Not saying that any specific program's wrong, but it doesn't work for everybody. What's going to help the situation is our comprehensive treatment center. We'll have educated, trained leaders with continued support throughout the whole program. Through marketing, we will continue to spread the word that there is help available. And with our program, no one, and I want to repeat that, no one will be refused treatment for monetary reasons. We will look at the whole person and treat the whole person with access to dental, medical, and mental health. And that's what holistic means. When you're looking at the whole person and their whole health. If you move to slide 5 and 6, we will use an individualized, holistic evidence. Our vision, we will use a full-service, long-term treatment care from the moment a person asks for help. they'll have a place. We'll take them in, assess their needs, and place them in the program best suited for them. From the word help, they will be cared for.
Yes.
Can you tell us what slide you're on? I think we're struggling.
I'm sorry,
to
I'm
keep-
on 5 and 6.
Can you show us a
So-
picture? Because they don't have
Not
numbers.
numbered, they're not numbered.
Sure.
And there are two different.
We're all like up here shuffling
That might
paper
be a
and can't pay
test.
attention, so.
I knew that was going to be a problem without the,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
sure.
I looked on the table, we're all on a different page here, so that was a, let's-
There are two different packets, so it's confusing. I don't know which one. I'm Yeah.
Well, let me,
Commissioner Poirier, I'll make sure you get a copy of what we're looking at in your email in the morning.
this is page 5. The AAW Treatment Center, evidence-based.
I'm with ya.
was on the right one.
6 is the building in phase 1.
The other one.
Now you guys made me lose my place. You're fired. Basically, page 6, we will use an individualized, holistic, evidence-based, long-term treatment approach. This approach is federally recognized as most successful. Our vision, we will use a full-service, long-term treatment care from the moment a person asks for help, they will have it. We will take them in, assess their needs, and place them in the program best suited for them. From the word help, they will be cared for. Phase 1. Once funding is secured, we will become licensed and open an Angel's Wing Treatment Center. The Phase 2 part of our plan is an extension off of what we already do, but will serve many more individuals. As we grow, we will add on more employees and give priority employment to those in long-term recovery. Slide 9 is the walk-in center. The walk-in center will be the place for everyone in need. Through our partnerships and local counseling centers, law enforcement, and word of mouth, we will have a place for everyone. This is a safe environment to stabilize until other services are secured. Assigned recovery coaches, and if needed, we will assist with case managers. Once we have completed phase 2, we will put into place phase 3. We will begin with partial hospitalization detox. That's what I spoke of before, where it's not necessarily a full detox, but if somebody doesn't need full detox, they can start here. Until we become a full licensed medical detox unit. This will relieve the stress placed on St. Mary's, who is the only local detox unit. Also, CMMC will see a reduction in the amount of patients that are seen in the emergency room for withdrawals. Next page. Actually, it's even the next page. Rehabilitation. We will have a comprehensive rehabilitation center that offers long-term treatment. The treatment will include holistic care, education, groups, counseling, life skills training to include on-the-job training, college applications, GED prep, independent housing. These services will be free to those who have no insurance or funds to pay. We will put in place a sliding fee scale as well. No one will go without treatment. The rehabilitation center, we haven't got that plan quite into place yet, but we do want it to be in the outskirts of Androscoggin County. Next slide. Once discharged from the rehab program, our clients will have the option to go into our recovery homes and continue healing. The community center, which is on the next page. Part of our plan is to build our community center. This is where the aftercare happens. We will support multiple pathways of recovery for clients, friends, and family. The individuals suffering from addiction are not the only ones that suffer. The family and friends suffer too. Adverse childhood experiences are the leading cause of substance use, and we will address this as well. We will offer activities and groups for all ages. There will be computers for learning and life-building skills. At this point, I would like to stop and see if there's any questions. Yes.
Debbie, you referred to holistic care a couple times. What does that mean as far as?
Holistic care looks at the person not just for their mental health, but their overall health. For example, somebody that uses drugs and alcohol deplete their B vitamins in their brain, and your body can't remake those. So we want a care that looks at their mental health. We're going to order blood tests and run blood tests to find out if there's something else going on to cause whatever's going on with them. It's all dental care because, as you know, bad teeth, infection can cause all kinds of issues. So that's the holistic approach we're going to take.
Do you have a nutritionist on call in some way?
Yes. Absolutely.
And so you'll outsource some of the advisory capacity?
We are definitely outsourcing some of it, but as much as we can, we're going to have in-house.
Well, there may be some, yeah, okay, I get you. There may be some good folks out there that'll consult with you that can really help as
Yes.
well, in addition to whoever you
Yes,
got in-house.
yes.
Do you expect to use anything that's like, I'm very interested in this subject, and I'm always in the question of, you know, what is the hole that's trying to be filled with drug addiction and things like that? And how can we assist people in filling that hole by other means? And things like simple EFT, which is tapping, you acquainted with that?
No.
Yeah, that's something that might be useful. And in neurolinguistic programming, that's psychological based. Maybe she knows.
Hi, I'm sorry to step in.
No,
My
please
name's Jennifer
do.
Wood, and I'm the Executive Director and Clinical Director of Blue Willow Counseling. We are a duly licensed agency. We work with mental health and addiction. And having come on the board of an Angels Wing, I was very interested in the program that they do. We work with a lot of they work with a lot of our clients. And when Deb and I have met, some of the things that she is talking about doing, which we've kind of consulted about, are the evidence-based treatment programs. We have a lot of clients here in Androscoggin County. Our agency holds the treatment drug court contracts. We have them in several counties, and we utilize a lot of evidence-based treatment programs to help with some of those things. DBT, we work with R&R groups. Those are just different things that help with criminogenic behavior, because there is a lot of that when you look at addiction. You're finding that there's a lot of criminogenic behavior out there. And so part of what Deb and I have talked about is, as she moves through those phases, to be able to develop some of those evidence-based programs in order to help meet that need, not only just the holistic approach of the mental health, dealing with the past trauma, dealing with addiction, dealing with the criminogenic behaviors, and the overall physical health of people, which is where the doctors and the nutrition and all those lab things come in.
Outsourcing.
So outsourcing. So hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, but you're open-minded to new technologies that become available. It's not just a system that's set. You guys aren't in a rut yet, right?
No, and that's our main value, is to keep our eyes open and pursue and keep ourselves educated on those new programs. Right, thank you. Thank you for considering us for your funding. We appreciate your time, and we will look forward to your decision. Nobody has any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's this building located?
Right We have a thrift store located at the Gridiron Plaza in Lewiston. We take in donations. We in turn sell those donations or donate them to people in need. And we use the funds from that to fund our program. Myself and Deb are the primary people that take the calls for the crisis, seeking help, those type of calls. And if we're not doing it from the office there, we're doing it from home.
And how much are you seeking from county? Total of
Startup costs. Phase one.
startup costs, okay. All right. Thank you.
Ms. York, thank you for coming, and thank you for your presentation. Obviously, this is a huge issue in Maine. How many beds do you plan on having should you meet your goal here?
We're shooting for 16 to start. That's not going to be enough, but that's where we're hoping to start.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You guys are aware decisions will be April? Is that what we agreed
No,
on?
we decided it.
April's when we're making the decision?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Just didn't want you to think we were ignoring you if you didn't hear
No,
back from us right away.
thank you, I appreciate that. Should we leave now, or?
Oh, that's up to you.
Whatever you
Is
like.
your- We have your number on here, right, Deborah, how to get a hold of you if we have other questions?
here.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, that's up to you. You're welcome to, or you're, whatever
Have
you'd
a
like to
great
do.
evening.
Thank you, thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, Museum LA has come back, Tracy and Rachel. They were here, month and a half.
Almost 3 months ago, I think, at this point.
Long, wow.
Here, November 15th. In some ways, it feels like it was very recently, and in some ways, it feels like it's been a long time.
Very much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us again. I'm Rachel Ferrante. I'm the Executive Director of Museum LA, and that's Tracy Gear, our Director of Development. As I said, we were here in November, but we've made a lot of progress since we were last here on our important goal, and so we wanted to provide you with an update before you make your final decisions in April. So we are building a new museum, as you all know. Since we last spoke, we have gotten important commitments from both Lewiston and Auburn. Lewiston has committed $2 million to the project. Auburn has committed just over $1.3 million to the project. Auburn is planning to use their ARPA funds. Lewiston is planning to fund it out of their city budget. So with that, we've reached over 25% of our goal, and we've basically just begun. I started in September, to give you a little context. We've also held, since I was last here, we've held initial meetings with foundations and lead donors and have some promising prospects for that piece of it. So I want to walk you through this one pager that's got the thermometer on it first. So our ask to the county, as you'll recall, is $3 million. It's a critical next step for us because federal funding depends on demonstrated local and regional funding. We have had strong and promising conversations with our federal senators' representatives, and they have encouraged us to apply for federal funding, but they did state very clearly that both local and regional support ahead of applying for that funding would be necessary to be successful. And then I just wanted to go over how we believe that the museum qualifies for funding, because the other thing that happened is that the final rules came out since we were last year. When we were here, there were still temporary rules. And so we've pulled out for you in the middle of that page the final rule that supports this project, which I won't read in detail to you because you have it in front of you and you can take it home and read it yourself. But the ways that we believe we qualify for that funding are that we're located in a qualified census tract. We're redeveloping a vacant property that will be part of a riverfront neighborhood revitalization plan. We're providing educational programming to students across the county and the region. And then lastly, one part that I wanted to note as we've been solidifying our budget numbers is that our HVAC system is estimated to cost between $2.5 and $3 million, and HVAC systems themselves are allowable expenses through ARPA rules. So in particular, the Androscoggin County ARPA funds could go to support the new museum's HVAC system. But in sum, basically, the bottom of this page says impacted nonprofits are qualified to receive assistance from the ARPA program due to financial insecurity and decreased capacity to weather financial hardship, all of which Museum LA is experiencing. Museum LA is also an important tourism attraction for the area and even will become even more so in the new building. And the tourism industry is, by final rule definition, an impacted industry. So these are all of the ways that we believe we qualify for ARPA funds, and we believe it would have a great return on investment for the county to be a major investor in this new museum. Then the second handout that we've provided to you is also, since we were last here, just a little bit of the support that we've gathered from, again, across the county. So you'll see there's significant county support and also some important key organizations that represent the region as a whole, or Maine as a whole. And then there are just some letters attached to that and some pull quotes that people provided when they shared their support with us. And that's it, short and sweet, because you guys have heard a decent amount from me, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Sweet, thank you. Very well done.
Exactly.
Street in downtown Lewiston.
It's right across, you know where the park is, where they have the balloon festival?
Yeah.
Before going over the trestle, walking trestle, it's that last building on the left, the old Camden Yarns building.
Or if you're going to the Station Grill restaurant, if you pull into their parking lot, if you just kept driving down the road, it's right there.
And there's a building there already?
There's a building there already. It's actually got a big sign on it that says, "Future New Home of Museum LA."
It's not your conceptual building, though, that you gave to us last meeting, right?
So what we presented is how we are going to rehabilitate and expand upon the building that is currently there. So one part of the building, one part of the project, it's all one project, but we will both rehabilitate the existing former Camden Yarns mill and build an addition all at the same time. So it currently exists, and the images that we showed you are what it will be once we're done renovating it.
Commissioner Mason, I will email you in the morning the original presentation.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you for the update. You're coming right along. That's. Okay, next on the agenda is IT department. And they are not
Our
here.
one-person IT department has been busy draining the swamp and fighting alligators, and we will reschedule him for the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, EMA Director.
Good evening. So in front of you, you each should have a packet.
Where is it? What is it?
Hello, my name is Angela Molino. I'm the director of Androscoggin County Emergency Management Agency. Request ARPA funding for the agency, specifically to purchase a mobile command vehicle, the amount of $429,595. That is the sticker price. That does not include delivery fees or taxes.
It should look sort of like this.
Go through the presentation real quickly. More. Can you hear me better? Okay. All right. Androscoggin County Emergency Management Agency, our operating budget for FY 2022 was approved for $206,200. This is an increase of less than $1,000 from the previous year. Even if the county were to prorate the cost of a mobile command vehicle over a 10-year period, the department budget would need to increase by over $40,000 annually. Given the fiscal constraints due to the current and most likely future economic climate, the budget increase necessary to reach the goal to purchase this vehicle would be very unlikely. The American Rescue Plan Act funding allocation for Androscoggin presents emergency management and public safety with a unique opportunity. Leveraging this opportunity, departments and municipalities within Androscoggin County will be better positioned to respond to large-scale incidents and events. Currently, we possess 2 trailers that contain response equipment used for traffic control and sheltering at the moment. The agency's current vehicles are a Ford Fusion and a van, a Ford E350 van. Both lack the capability to operate as a mobile command vehicle. Additionally, just for your information, we have been approved to purchase a mobile communication unit with the Homeland Security Grant Program funding. It's another trailer, 16-foot aluminum dual axle trailer. The mobile command vehicle will serve as a countywide resource available to all public safety to deploy for scheduled events and emergency response. The multifunctional unit will give commanders the ability to direct large-scale emergency response from the scene of a major event. The command vehicle provides a stable single point of coordination for responders, which helps to reduce duplication of efforts and miscommunication. A single benefit or significant benefit to Androscoggin County owning the MCV is its immediate availability to departments in the county versus processing a timely request for the same resource from the state or other jurisdictions. And here I just close out by, this is a 36-foot Freightliner MT 55 heavy-duty step van, which features a slide-out HVAC system, a conference area with seating, a small galley kitchen, an equipment rack, 4 workstations, network jacks, interior and exterior monitors, generator, and lighting. This vehicle partners seamlessly with the above-mentioned mobile communications unit and aligns with the current approach that separates communication function from command on scene. So page 2, it's a picture of the unit. 3 is just some interior photos. Page 4 just cites the features. The generator, the HVAC system, conference area, galley kitchen, network, equipment, storage racks. I think we're on page 5. That's the conference area. One setup, one possible setup for the data rack and monitors. We would work with the company, if approved, to come up with a floor plan. Again, that's a possible setup on page 6 for data, and here it's showing that there are 2 plotters, which we would plan to include. So I believe we're on page 7, which illustrates MCV activations for those who own them, which is the City of Bangor, Maine Forest Service, Maine State Police, Maine Warden Service, and York County EMA. This is the activations from 2016 to 2020. Over a 5-year period, this includes training and exercises. Next page shows the activations per year. And I'd like you to look at York County. There's a high number of activations compared. We can use that as a model for Androscoggin. I believe we're on page 8 now. ACEMA, MCV. So this is the projected use so far. They would be more if it was requested for activations. So this is broken down to trainings and projected activations. So we would use this unit for training for our agency as well. And then you have the support letters. So I've received 6 support letters from locals and 1 from the Maine Emergency Management Agency. Next, a part of my request is to use ARPA money to purchase a heavy-duty truck with sufficient, or vehicle, whatever's available with sufficient towing capacity. And I'm asking for $60,000. That could be used or new, whatever's available. I understand it's difficult at this time to get a vehicle. That is in addition, so that would be $489,595. Again, this is without a delivery fee.
Know the delivery fee or the tax on that?
We do not. We have reached out to the company. There's high demand right now with the use of the ARPA money. Yes?
In the letters, what are these 2 generators?
Thank you for mentioning that. We've decided to go with other funding to save the ARPA money for other projects. We have other funding available. So we've reduced our ask to just the mobile command vehicle and the truck vehicle, towing vehicle.
Madam Chair.
Go right ahead.
Angela, you mentioned a trailer that's been approved by Homeland Security,
Yeah, communications trailer?
and that's, okay, and that's supplemental to this?
Yes.
Is it needed with this, or how does that fit in?
Well, the current approach to response is communications is kept separate than the command to cut down on confusion, and so, yeah, communications would be entirely separate. And again, the communications unit would be used by our amateur radio team. Dispatch, if they would want to use it, but we would use it. And again, that's been already approved with Homeland Security money. HSGP 20, Homeland Security money.
Yes, go ahead.
Where is this vehicle coming from, this command unit?
Want to say Pennsylvania. It is a company, LDV, I believe. I can look that up, but it's the same company that produces Snap-on trucks. Snap-on tools, yep.
Okay. Is this a price that was negotiated, or is it a sticker price?
It's the sticker price. Again, we did reach out. There is high demand for these, so we're waiting to hear back. But this is a
I have a question.
on-lot available vehicle. Yep.
Okay, are you all set? All right, Commissioner Poyer?
So, did we have a mobile command vehicle, several years back? For some reason, I remember seeing one within the county.
We did have a mobile command vehicle several years back. I can't speak to why that did not work out, or it was returned to the state. There was an ask from locals to have a mobile command vehicle, which is why I stand in front of you today.
With our mutual aid agreements, have we ever had to borrow one or have someone from another county come into our county because we didn't have this equipment?
Yes. We did for the State of Maine parade. We requested a mobile command vehicle. It came, so we requested through the state. Bangor responded with their mobile command vehicle and an operator. And then the Derby that's happening this weekend, we requested through the state. There were none available, but York County came through. That is now up in question because one of their drivers is ill with suspected COVID, and one of them is on vacation. So these are things we wouldn't run into if we had one.
But any emergencies outside of it, just events?
Events
I'm
so
not
far.
downplaying the events,
Yep.
but any
Events.
emergencies?
Events.
Another question.
Go ahead.
Where would we be storing this? Where would we be storing this, and what would the maintenance cost be for this going forward?
Again, I have been unable to connect to the vendor. I'm hoping the vendor contacts me soon, and I can ask that. But I do have a maintenance line in my budget. I am not asking locals to maintain this. I have asked departments for storage, and one department has plans to build a garage that would align in the time frame. Looks like it would work out that we would have a place to store it, but that has not been confirmed yet. But we are working on that.
Madam Chair?
Thank you.
I'm trying to grasp the usage of this vehicle. I hope I don't know what the demand is, how much usage it would get. I just hope that it won't just be parked somewhere and deteriorate.
Our department would use it for training. Our department, and I can project. And what we did, we looked at the number of events we have currently in the county, large planned events, that's 7, and currently we have 4 training events that we participate in. The training events would increase greatly because we'd have our own vehicle.
Okay, is everyone, any other questions? Commissioner Poyer, are you all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Do you have these handouts, or do you need me to send these to you, Ed?
If you could send them to me, or
Okay.
I can swing by next week and pick them up.
I do have one question, Madam Chair.
Go
I
ahead.
do have one question for Angela.
Yes.
Does how many counties, within the state of Maine have a command vehicle or have an emergency command vehicle?
York County, we had one. Bangor Portland, South Portland share one. I have to look back.
Does Lewiston have one?
Auburn has a smaller unit.
Lewiston has something. It's a
Lewiston
giant,
does have something.
armored looking.
Yes, an MRAP.
We've got that.
I don't know its full capability, so. So City of Bangor, Maine Forest Service, Maine State Police, and Maine Warden Service. Those particular units owned by the state, I do not know where they are housed, the location. They could be moved around. They are used often. The location varies, whatever's going on in the state. I believe one is in the garage right now for repairs.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
We'll wait.
Much.
Very much.
While you're here, Angela, did you want to talk about the mutual aid agreements?
Yep.
Yes. So, you have two items in front of you. One is the NIMS resolution, and that's just an update to the former NIMS resolution. Sorry, let's do the mutual aid first. So the mutual aid, the former mutual aid agreement expired, and so this is just a continuation of that mutual aid agreement.
Are there any changes to this,
No.
what we're presently doing?
And so if they ask us for help, if we can, we respond. If we ask them for help, like, for example, York County with the mobile command vehicle, you know, they respond. Just using that as an example.
When we borrowed the York County vehicle, did we pay them money?
No. No, just partners helping partners. It's just putting it down on paper. And so that can include personnel, equipment, a call from a county asking me, you know, a question about a particular project they're working on. That would fall under the personnel. So it's just because the old agreement expired, and so there's a new agreement in front of you.
Okay, any other questions? So the motion on this, I'm asking for, you're authorizing me to sign this mutual aid agreement. If I could have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's an easy one.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? All those in favor? Commissioner Poirier?
In favor.
We might be, did you want to talk about the NIMS now?
Sure, so in front of you, there should be a NIMS resolution. And again, this is just an update from the previous version. It's just a simplified language. And so the NIMS is a system that guides all levels of government, as well as non-governmental organizations and private sector organizations to work together to protect against mitigation, I had dental work done.
You're doing fine.
Sorry. Protect against, mitigate, respond to, and recover from all incidents. NIMS provides stakeholders across the community to share a vocabulary, systems and processes to successfully develop deliver capabilities described in the National Preparedness System. NIMS applies to all incidents regardless of cause, size, location, or complexity. Your public safety are well aware of NIMS. It also integrates existing best practices into consistent nationwide approach to incident management. This is applicable to all jurisdictional levels and functional disciplines in all hazard contexts. So this is something we've already agreed to. We're just agreeing to the update, signing the updated resolution. And this is part of, part of accepting Homeland Security monies is that we agree to follow these NIMS guidelines.
Same question here. Are there any changes to what we are presently doing, and especially these best practices? Are they going to affect our budget as far as the
No.
trainings, the cost of the trainings?
No. Well, I mean, of course, I'm always going to request more money for trainings, but no, it does not. No. Just by signing that, you're agreeing to the principles, the NIMS principles.
Thank you.
And it allows us to accept funding, which is nice.
So did we sign something prior to now?
Yes, we did.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yearly? I can't remember what the last
No,
time we've done this, actually.
So this is a one and done, it's not tied. It doesn't have a expiration date. I updated some language. Simplified it, really. And it's more aligned with what the other counties are doing in the state, the language, which I thought was good.
For what we're presently doing?
No.
Okay, are there any other questions? Did you have, okay, I would entertain a motion that we sign this tonight before we leave.
So moved.
All those in favor? And Commissioner Poyer? I think he was trying to second it, so, okay. All right, that's 7-0. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
I'm missing here, Angela, did we cover all your?
I think we covered everything. It was a big night for EMA. Thank you.
Claire, I'm signing this.
Yes.
All right, let's look at the tax commitment. No crying aloud.
So it begins.
No, just me.
Again, as I've already said, this tax commitment is a tax of $1.21 per thousand. Last year's was $1.20 per thousand. The years before was $1.25 per thousand. I calculated it out if we didn't put any overlay in, and it was .00119066894. And so, anyway, the .00121. The other part, if you will notice on the bottom, it says interest at blank percent commencing on November 1st. We can choose to put in whatever interest we want to, up to 4%. That's the maximum this year.
Is that for if they haven't paid by that date?
If they're not paid by November 1st.
What did we do last year, was it 1%?
3,
It was 3?
yes.
Last year, we didn't have a substantial increase to the towns. This year we do. I say we keep it as low as possible. We need to be town-friendly here.
Did we have any late payers last year?
Just one, and it was only a few days, I think.
Hey, it's on the day, whatever.
I think with the exception of one town, because of their valuation, everyone's seeing an increase, so I'm not really interested in being aggressive with the late fees.
Nope. I'll go 1.
Up to the board.
Lowest it can be?
I'll go 1%.
We need a motion.
Do I need a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion for the interest rate at 1% commencing on November 1st, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Any other comments? And we're talking about just the, I don't know what that noise is, but
Roland has both audios on the computer.
we're talking, where the vote, and the motion and the second is on the interest rate only, not on the document in full. So 1% is what's on the board. Any other questions or comments about the 1%? Keeping it as low as possible. Okay, all those in favor? Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That is 7-0. Okay, don't we have certain legal wording we need to use for this motion?
Other than reading the top of the,
Okay, just
Yes.
read the top word for word. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for, is someone to make a motion by reading that top paragraph. You don't have to go through all the numbers.
You just need to read the first
I
paragraph.
just need you to read it on the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, at a court of county commissioners held in Auburn, within and for the county of Androscoggin on the 2nd day of February 2022, the undersigned county commissioners have assessed as a county tax a sum of $11,542,976.50 for the year 2022 upon the several cities and towns in said county, it being assessed in accordance with the provisions of Title 30A MRSA, Section 725 and Section 706, this fact being hereby certified in the records of said apportionment, and we have apportioned the same agreeable to the valuation of the several cities and towns in said county as shown by the reports of the Board of Assessors of the State of Maine, acting as a Board of Equalization as a basis on which the state and county taxes shall be levied for the year 2022 as provided by law. I don't need to read every town, do I?
No, then
Okay.
just as printed. Okay, there's the motion. A second? And all those in favor? Oh, I guess I need to ask, are there any other questions or comments? Sorry, I skimmed right over that. It's sort of a done deal, but any other questions or comments about that? Okay, all those in favor? And Commissioner Poyer?
Aye.
7-0. Okay, Sheriff, are you presenting the new PSAP rates, or is Larry doing, or Administrator doing that?
I believe it was left up to, as explained last meeting, rates set by the commissioners. We were asked questions, provided input, gave examples of the effects on the rate. We made a recommendation, but it's totally your thing.
Since I wasn't here, will you tell me what your recommendation was? I'm sorry.
You only make an adjustment to the PSAP rate. And we gave example of a 5%, and the commissioners asked for 5, 7, 10, I believe. So the Director of Communications provided that for them, but it's entirely a rate set and decided on by the commissioners. But we did the legwork for you that we were requested to do, and, made a recommendation because the commissioners had an interest in adjusting the rate. I'll tell you, like I told Larry, I kind of wish it was just all taxation, but there's a rate for a reason. So going along with that, where some of the commissioners had a desire to use the rate to offset expenses, we provided you information to help you make a decision.
Okay. So it is on the agenda that we can vote on this unless you want to look over that information more, and, or if you have questions, it's whatever the board wants to do.
Question.
Go right ahead.
And this is just at the risk of sounding ignorant. Why do we need the increase? Like, why can't we just keep it the same? And I understand that we can set it at whatever we want to set it at, but
You guys, we set the rate 3 years ago, and at the time, we weren't working to capacity. So we had a communication center that was required to have 2 dispatchers on duty 24 hours a day. Since then, the workload related to PSAP, EMA and calls, or even fire, whatever they call the fire EMA version, it's just a lot more work. So you always have to have 2 on. Some shifts with the call volume, we have 3. With the state police leaving, you know, the call sharing agreements, things like that, it's actually generating more 911 calls because now we get all of them all the time. So 2015, 16, in an effort to bring in revenue, because there was this fee structure established, we went to the commissioners with the rates because there was a lawsuit going on with a lot of the towns due to prior commission action and a lack of trust, I think, within the municipal town governments and county governments, and I think we're beyond that. But I went to all the towns, encouraging them to come back, because if they paid the fee, it would offset their tax expenses. We were successful in doing that. Part of that was, with the lack of trust issues going on, setting a rate for a period of time. So I recommended the commissioners help me get people in to bring in some revenue to offset the increases taxation by guaranteeing them a 3-year rate. So the commissioners at the time set a 3-year rate, and I think they followed through the next time too, I believe, in order so there was some predictability and some consistency, because some towns, rightfully so, worried they'd leave their dispatch center, come on with us at a fair cost or comparable cost, and then they'd get price jacked the following year. And with everything going on politically, I understood their concerns, and I think the commissioners did too. But now the rates haven't been set, so the town of Lisbon called, where they're trying to put together their budget and have a lot going on, want to know what the rate's at, because every contract is, well, a lot of the contracts are due. So you're due to establish your rate for the next year or the next 3 years. We've been doing them in 3 years because it does provide stability to the towns. Does that answer what you were looking at?
yeah, no, it does. It's just, it's hard, I guess it's just hard for me personally, coming onto the board right now and setting a rate like that. I mean, I know it's not like an astronomical amount of money that an increase would be. It's just hard for me to make a decision on this and not knowing like what percentage increase has happened to warrant it.
Like Larry and I discussed earlier this week, you know, you're discussing the impact of the fee, or a couple months ago, the impact of consolidation.
Yeah.
Sometime prior to Larry being here and me being sheriff, 3 commissioners came up with a whole fee structure, put it in place, and it went out to the towns out of nowhere. So I understand what you're going through, and I wonder how that went over then. And I understand why it was in place. It was to offset some of the expenses for communities that don't use our PSAP or dispatch services, because they're still buying in under their taxation. So it's to offset a little bit of that. It's never covered the operational costs. It just provides some sort of subsidy. Where the issue really comes up, in my experience and my observation, is during budget time. You go to the budget committee and you're dealing with a number of people. You got representatives from the municipalities who have their own communication center, and this gets brought up.
Yeah.
So I think it was done to kind of making a recommendation as far as where to go or what to do. It's a volatile market. There's places that do it cheaper. There's people that are losing their dispatches, so they're calling us to see if we could take them on. DPS has a problem. Some of the smaller PDs had and it's a double-edged sword when you're looking at increasing this rate, because say there's a town or a fire department, more likely, that doesn't want to pay the increase for a fire or police service, they could actually shop someplace else, and then we lose the $10,000 or $12,000 that they might be providing yearly. That goes against the operation costs. And we could lose agencies, our operations costs wouldn't go down because there's requirements. We recommended the PSAP fee because if you'll notice, we are everybody's PSAP, but we're not everybody's dispatch for their fire or police. Predominantly we are, with the exceptions of Lewiston, Auburn, and Poland. So, and Lisbon does their own dispatch for their fire and police. But the PSAP rate, call it the best bang for the buck, but also in our looking at what we were asked of the commissioners, what's costing us and what's taking up the most labor, that's the biggest impact for, all the equipment, all the training, the certifications, the workload as far as quality assurance issues and things like that, the follow-up with it. It's not the police calls, it's not the fire calls, it's the 911 calls. I was looking just today at the reports prepared, and if you look at, break down the 911 calls by town compared to the calls for service during it's quite high.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just a couple of thoughts, and then I'll stop talking. But like, well, actually, a question first. Has there ever been any other, is it just straight taxation? Is that the way that it was before?
So, and I believe this came in, 2010 maybe? Do you know when they started doing this?
I don't.
It was sometime like before I came on, but not like a decade before. And we, the communications director provided at one point, and I don't have it with me, the breakdown of how it's done at the state. And it's done differently everywhere, but majority of the places, I don't even want to misquote it. It seemed as though there are a number of agencies that it's all taxation. And there's some that use it to offset the expense of operation with the fee. We're not unique as far as having Lewiston Auburn with their own comm center, and then us. I think Cumberland County has similar with Portland and South Portland.
Yeah.
I believe Cape Elizabeth possibly too. So, no, it does kind of confuse things, but I understand why they put it in place.
I guess just a couple of thoughts before I yield my time, but, I struggle a little bit with and this is probably a conversation for another time, but like I struggle a little bit with the fact that it's a population-based metric. Like it's per citizen. I think it would make more sense if it was something like households. I think that just makes a little bit more sense to me, just because we do a lot of things on valuation around here. And so maybe we bring that up at some point, to have that discussion.
I may suggest, because there's a number of new commissioners, and some that this is the first time they're going through this process, even though they've been here a number of years. Maybe you set a one-year rate just so we can get back to those towns and establish something, and we sign one-year contracts till you can look at it all. I don't know how that'll go over with the towns, but it gives you guys a chance to do your due diligence if you don't feel comfortable setting the rate for 3 years. Or if you want to look at the whole fee structure that was, developed by the county commissioners and the rates at that time set. We've just historically, even I think before Larry came on, we had made a recommendation because we were gaining momentum, getting Green and Sabattis and all the towns back, so we needed something. But I think at this point, I've got no recommendations. I've made recommendations based on the formula the commissioners have, and maybe if you feel more comfortable, you set a one-year rate to give yourself a chance to do a little bit more homework. We just need to get back to the towns with something, rather than saying, well, I guess use the same rate, and then we're surprised by something the commission does, and it's way out of whack, and there's a revenue issue that comes up.
We really haven't had a big discussion or workshop on this since your first year as sheriff and my first year on the commission, and that would have left, because when we renewed it, it was just a quick vote 3 years ago. So it seems like it's
Breakdown.
time for, this is a whole new face of a commission, is to really discuss that. The second thing is, I go back to my original, what I said with the last issue. We've got a 6% increase. I don't know if I want more increases coming from other directions right now. Our budget is stable without increasing it. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, and I know you understand that our budget is based on taxation as well as offset by the revenue this brings in. So if this brings in more revenues for the fees you're charging to the users, what you're collecting by taxation is reduced marginally. If you do away with this, the revenue we would lose would be all taxation, which I believe it brings in $300,000 a year, maybe? Is that what it is? So if you all of a sudden made the motion, I want to do away with the fee structure and just rely on taxation, your tax base is going up $300,000. If you decide I want to double this, so it goes from $300,000 to $600,000, you'll tax all the communities within Androscoggin County $300,000 less
And the next budget cycle.
in the next budget cycle. What's happening now is you have town meetings, and they realize their contract's up, so they want the new costs. Which is why it was put on the agenda and was discussed with the commissioners, you know,
Of course, on the flip side, I guess everybody would expect in 6 years some increase. I mean, it's
well, the other
reasonable.
concern you have is, of the exercise we did last year when you looked at consolidation, knowing that it could come up again, the impact that would have been realized at that point, factoring in this would go away, you almost wonder, is it wise to get more dependent on the user's fees because the impact, if there was ever consolidation, and I'm not saying based a decision on, in the event there may or may not be a but it does kind of distort the numbers if it were to go through. So it's like, you could plan to lessen the impact later on. It might never happen. I mean, it hasn't yet, and I think this has been on for like 30 years. But it could.
Yes.
Yeah, I would, as a new member, I would very much like to have a workshop on this whole service that we're providing, and also the duplication of service that is provided. It's one of the more involved, complicated subjects, as far as I'm concerned, to understand. Because the tentacles are all over the place, and it's very hard to get your hands around the cost, where the benefit is going for the cost, and where the cost is coming from, and, projecting. It's a nightmare as far as I'm concerned, and I hope I'm a reasonable, intelligent person, but that's me. So I would welcome a workshop on it. I would entertain a 1-year or 2-year proposal, rather than going 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, so that it'll give us time to, or give me time to more intelligently see what it really involves and to make a better, intelligent decision. That's the way I feel about it.
No, and like I've repeatedly stated, this fee structure and the whole formula and the setting of it is 100% the commissioner's purview, I guess you'd say. It's in the scope of it has nothing, we provide the service. The commissioners establish the fee, they set the fees, they set the structure. We've made strong recommendations in the past. At this point, we're not making a strong recommendation, but we kind of pointed you in the direction that, the cost is coming with the PSAP. It's not your police and your fire calls. So if you're going to adjust anything, and there's nothing saying you have to, adjust the PSAP rate, but it's entirely up to the county commissioners. And we're, because we're providing the service and because we have a hold of it and we're dealing with the people we provide the service with and getting the phone calls or deferring them to Larry, we had the time to work out the Excel formats and do what was asked, the 5%, 7%, 10%. And I said, well, what about a flat fee of a quarter? Because when you say 5%, it seems high, but it's actually 13 cents, I think. Yeah, so I don't know. And I not to minimize the $300,000 in revenue it brings in, but it was done as I don't even want to say. It was a gesture to appease, I believe, during the budget process with some of the budget committee members at the time.
Well, even though it's the commissioner's decision, I mean, I have 5 towns, and you've been to a lot of those meetings with me. I know you have your ear to the ground, and people talk to you, and so, I rely on your recommendation too, because I know you've got.
And I think the commissioners, some of which I think there was originally an idea of looking at this more aggressive to offset the cost, because not everybody participates. But when you look at the risk of doing that, which is what I encourage you not to do, you run the risk of losing clients. You run the risk of losing clients, you lose the revenue they do bring in. So, although there's limited places to get the service, and we're included in that. I mean, we have a patrol division and a transport division for the jail that we're dependent on a dispatch service too. So I think there's a better understanding of that through the conversations we've had with some, and maybe Commissioner Plourd's right that you guys should schedule a workshop so we could go over, I guess, the conversation of what we're doing, how it's done, and what we would see as potential impacts of any major shifts you do. And some of it, because you're dealing with taxes and fees, there's I guess, I hate saying it, but political ramifications maybe, you know, one way or the other. I mean, I don't, that's what I don't like about the fee structure. That's why when I look at taxation, there's a formula decided by somebody else and everybody participates. But I also understand in the budget process why the communities that have their own dispatch and PSAP centers, specifically Lewis and Auburn, say, hey, why should we contribute to yours when we have our own? Well, because the state formula says that's what will happen to run county government. But this fee structure was developed, you know, to kind of offset some of that expense.
Commissioner Poirier, you've had interest in this. Would you like to weigh in?
I think the idea of, excuse me. I think the idea of a workshop would be the best way to approach this. My concern is, even though it's an increase, our costs are going up. And the reason we had a tax increase at the county level is in part because of this. So I think you know, somebody has to pay for it. The salary, Eric has explained that other centers are having similar challenges, which is making some communities shop. It's a no-win situation, I know that. But, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, but do you go out and shop, do we buy the service from someone else? Are we doing it inefficiently at the county level? But those are the types of questions you gotta ask, the hard questions, but that's a workshop question.
So in order to give an answer to the towns, I guess that's where we are, where we need to give you some sort of an answer to take back to the towns.
I would say the fair thing to do would be at least establish a one-year rate, because some of these towns have been waiting for over a month. And then we could have a workshop.
Makes sense.
And I've witnessed at other, no offense, but I've witnessed at other times, yeah, we'll have a workshop, discuss it, and then it gets, we're here next year doing the same thing with no workshop. So I would just say, schedule a workshop.
The,
Put it on future agenda items, right?
Maybe you do it on an off Wednesday that you're not here, so that way that's all we can do, and everybody
Right,
kind of,
we will-
just an idea. Because it might be a lengthy conversation, there's a lot to it, and.
Girl Scout, I don't know what the Girl Scout promise is, but I will do it.
thing that I would note is currently, we're taking in 284,601. And if we do a 5% increase next year, that brings it to 296, but a lot of that 12,000 increase is because of the change in population. And the year after goes from 296 to 302, so that's,
$5,726, and then 2023,
yeah.
$6,161.
So those increases are relatively modest, which is what we came to you with last meeting. And while I'm not opposed, I think we need to look at, long-term, although I personally think that it's all going to be combined and we're all going to do it by valuation and taxes within a fairly short time. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is perhaps we ought to do like a 2-year to give us some time to be thinking about it instead of just one.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Sheriff, can you tell me what happens if, like, we send out a rate to the towns? Do they decide at town meeting or, when council, in a case like Lisbon or
I
something?
can't speak to every town, because, some of them, I go to town meetings. I don't typically go to Lewiston, Auburn, or Lisbon, but we try to scatter out the rest of them because we're their direct link for pretty much law enforcement. So I don't know how each operates. Some have select, some have council, but basically, we give them the amount of the service and it gets voted on at town meeting, like every other article does.
Okay, so they vote on it every year if they're gonna stay in Androscoggin? or
Yeah,
not?
generally what happens there is, from the experience I had in 2015, I went and talked to, sometimes it would be a town manager, sometimes it would be the fire chiefs. Usually it was through errors in calls or that, like we offer seamless 911, and 911 and dispatch to fire and rescue. What was happening at the time is we were their PSAP transferring to dispatch places, there was the gaps, and then sometimes the wrong agencies were called, or, you know, they'd be waiting for an ambulance. You're talking public safety, life-threatening events. So fire chiefs would call the complaints. My chief deputy would research it, we'd find out the problem, and ended up creating the conversation, which went right into the goal, which was bring everybody back here. And then, you know, we had the conversations about getting them back on. So, you know, a fire chief, I would think, or maybe the rescue chiefs, would probably be the first conversation we have about the rates. With Lisbon, when it came to the PSAP rate, I was called right by the interim town manager several weeks ago, right before he was the interim town manager. But a lot of the towns, the conversation started with the fire chiefs, because I think they put it in their budgets, you know, or rescue, things of that nature.
And I apologize, I'm used to dealing with the state budget, not the county one, so I'm gonna ask another question
That's
at the
fine.
risk of being, you know, ignorant.
Just be careful, I might answer you.
I hope you do. So, in the case that we overrun on that budget, what happens? Do you bring a recommendation to us that you need X amount of dollars?
Well, no, part of the issue is our budget's set for this year, it's calendar year, these people are doing on fiscal year.
Right.
So we're gonna tell them their rate, I'm assuming Lisbon's a fiscal year. We'll just assume they are. So we're all set for the year now. Their budget will be, is it even for this year, or is it for the following year?
Well, what we're talking here is for the following year.
So it's for the following year anyway. So if we set it at a flat rate, don't do any increase, then next year, we know what we're getting for revenue based on those towns that we're providing the service to. And any increases we experience will be put in the budget. And obviously, it'll be
Accordingly.
done through taxation. If we can project a higher revenue, it brings the taxation rate down.
Okay.
It's one pocket or the other. The issue is obviously taxation, you have more hands participating than you do with the fees.
So I have a couple thoughts. I think we're gonna do a workshop, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm looking for my schedule right now. My junk, but yeah, I want to plan one before this meeting's out.
So I just have a couple of thoughts that maybe we can discuss during the workshop. I'm comfortable with what I just heard of setting a flat fee. I'd be willing to discuss some sort of rate increase for inflation, because we all know that that's an issue. I'd also like to know, Larry, if this is possible, if we can use ARPA monies to do any studies. And I think that might be a worthy cause to study PSAP rates around the state and see how different counties are charging different things.
Oh, we already have all that. My communications director did it all. I had it on my desk, and I said I don't want to use it because we've already been through it.
I would love to read
You
that.
probably weren't here.
Yeah.
I could have him provide it to you.
Okay.
What I'll do is make a note to have our communications director email you all how every county's breakdown was. And at least it was fairly easy to follow. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like, and I said it wrong, and if he's watching, I'll probably say it wrong again. There's like 21 PSAPs in the state. So, and some are like the Lewis and Auburn, Portland, South Portland, but a lot of them are county, one way or another.
Okay. But just throwing it out there, that's where I am, so I guess we don't need a study. But I would like to know that for other reasons, if we can use ARPA money for any kind of studies.
See, the concern I have, and the only thing that's been kind of alluded to, is the communication center is extremely valuable to our organization and offers a very efficient and affordable cost. And when you deal with all these mutual aid and, you know, calling backup for the centralized location here works for all the towns. I would fear, and I don't think the commissioners would go there after they see the value of the ownership of it, what we'd be left with, because we still have to provide the service even for ourselves. So, you know, when I hear that kind of conversation, you know, we can share with you during workshops some of the staffing concerns or issues that have happened across the state, which thankfully we haven't had to experience, nor have the agencies we provide service to experience, so,
And that would be super helpful for me.
yeah.
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
I'll have him, all right, we'll have him get that to
In
you.
case, what about February, we're going to be caught up with union issues. April, we're going to be up to our neck with ARPA. So what about March 9th?
You mean May 9th?
No, go
March
right
is,
away.
is before,
Yeah,
March.
that's what I'm saying,
right
hit in
into it.
between those
Okay.
two issues that we're going to be dealing with. So March 9th at 5:15, we could have a workshop. I told you I would do it, I
I don't,
promise.
sure, I'm good. I plan all my
Work for
Wednesday
everyone?
nights.
Commissioner Poyer?
That's fine.
So we'll get that information out to you. And if there's anything else you can ask, because he's done a lot of stuff that was even above and beyond, just ask us, and if we have it, we'll give it to you. Because what we tried to do was provide as much as we could for this process without confusing the issue. So maybe we haven't shared that with you in the past, but we have it.
So to give him an answer now to take back to, oh, yes, go
Gonna put 'em
ahead.
On the spot, don't walk away yet.
What time?
5:15 work for everyone, our usual time? To give you an answer, though, for you to take back to the towns now, that we still have to deal with
You got a
that issue.
recommendation for a 1-year increase?
You asked, I'm assuming for a reason.
I did.
As a board, the county commission did, for examples of 5, 7, and 10% increases. So I would imagine that was what the board was weighing on 2 weeks ago. I would say any of those would be reasonable to look at.
I'd like to make a motion for a PSAP rate of a 5% increase for 1 year.
Second.
Oops, wrong one. Okay, any other questions, or did he hear the motion? Would you ask, Commissioner Poyer, did you hear that motion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, all those in favor of a 1-year 5%? And Commissioner Poyer?
Aye.
Okay,
Who seconded that?
Terry Kelly. And it didn't get tabled, Sheriff. It didn't get tabled.
Make sure we get back to the towns that have inquired. Thank you.
It's 10 till 7, but it didn't get tabled. All right, good. All right, Administrator, we'll turn it over to you for the renewable energy contract, unless did you have anything more outside of your report?
Essentially, that Oncom Renewable Energy contract, our consultant has been working for, actually, we've had him as a consultant for how many years? And he has done several things for us to save electricity. But he's been looking at the last year or so for what they call net energy billing, where in this particular case, they do solar projects, and we end up saving a lot of money over the years. It's a 20-year contract, and the estimate has ranged from 35 to 40. This one was 40,000 a year. However, they're having current difficulties with their own contract with Central Maine Power, and so they're working through that. And so we're in a holding position at present.
I was asked this question this week. This is still just in the research and inquiry process, where we have not made any commitment with this, is that
Good.
right?
What we have, we are working with our consultant. Our consultant brings us these. If we sign one, the consultant gets some dollars as well, or part of, some reimbursement. But we are not, that all depends on what we sign for a contract.
So I'm sure there'll be more questions when that contract actually comes, but go right ahead, and then we'll get to you, Commissioner Mason.
The 40,000 a year, is that a year for 20 years?
Yes.
What does that come out to as a percentage of savings?
I didn't look at the percentage, to be honest with you.
Is it that much?
We'll get the green points as well, that we can, if we were a manufacturing plant, the green points would go towards our manufacturing. Since we don't have that, we actually have the ability to sell them. And then this, the
person that we're using would sell it for us.
Okay, because I do next stamp, same idea, for residential is 15%, you know. So I can see where they're having some negotiations with CMP about the return rate, the discount rate.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions. Are we gonna have a time that we're gonna go into this more? Like, should we get close to a contract on this? Okay, all right. So, just a couple of questions that I have. Have they looked into any of the large-scale community solar that's going on in this county? Because I know that that report was from Brooks, their facility out there. Have they looked into, there's a 5-megawatt facility going in Lisbon, there's another one going in Lewiston right now.
Giant one being built right on Lisbon Street.
Some, the ones that are already being built, I think they've already sold.
Well, and that was my next
yeah.
question, is how much of Brooks has been sold? Did they say that to you?
Yeah, so we would be buying about 10%, which is what was left.
That's what's left. It was like 12.8%, if I remember correctly.
And
Okay,
we would be purchasing about 10% of it.
okay.
Deadline?
Just
Well,
until they
again,
sell
it's
it.
kind of on hold because of the contract issues with Central Maine Power.
Can they sell that 10% to someone else?
No, I don't think so. If we would've signed it the day we received it, we probably could've got onto that deal, but it was what, the next day or the day after, we got an email stating that there's kind of a hold on it, because they're having issues.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
So we've got time, they're not just gonna get rid of our 10% on us. The original contract that we have with this person is that he was trying to get us as close to 20% as possible. So for him to get the 25%, I thought was really good.
So you do want to, read this. Actually, I sent it to Amy to review as well, our attorney. And she hasn't gotten back to me with her total review yet. But it'll be something very, even if it's not this one, it'll be something very similar, so.
I guess my last comment that I'll say about it is, I think that there is savings to be had, and I think probably the best part about if we ever were to do something like that is it would fix our costs for 20 years essentially, which is great, especially considering what people are dealing with right now. My only concern is that the recs are determined by the Public Utilities Commission. And that's becoming an incredibly political body. And there's a lot of concern about if a governor came in and did not like solar, that they could appoint commissioners that would set that rate very low. And that's, the politicization of the PUC makes me very concerned about that.
Sure.
So.
That's good.
And the other, Madam, the other concern, it's a concern, but there's not much, I don't think there can be done about it. There's no escalation clause. I mean, it's 40,000 every year for 20 years. So who knows what's gonna be in 2043 with the price. It's crapshoot, really,
Sure.
but there are savings along the way, so.
But there could be, they could make that rate, they could make that rate 300 per, kilowatt hour. You don't know. And it's tough.
Yeah, and Dave and I have had several conversations about 20 years. We're concerned about 20, but on the other hand, you got to pay electricity, and you're going to be paying it 20 years from now, so you get to, whatever you can save.
Organizations that have done it, Kennebec County has purchased it, Augusta, City has done it, Cumberland has done it. But Cumberland, when they signed their contracts, they didn't get any REX points. They're getting just a discount without the ability to sell the REX. We're trying to purchase the one with the REX points as well, which is what City of Augusta has done, and I think the City Water District for Augusta has done as well. One more question.
Larry, are they having trouble getting online? Is that the problem? Because I know that that's been a problem with large-scale solar, is that they can't get online.
Apparently, from what we understand, Central Maine Power has told them they have to pay for part of Central Maine Power's upgrade to bring them online.
Of course.
And so, and they're not, I'm not sure how far they are in their construction. I'm not sure you know, I don't think they're near being online. But that's my understanding of what's going on.
Well, then it begs the question, is that under the purview of the PUC, whether who decides that is allowed?
There's a rate review, there's a transmission and distribution review that the PUC has to do. And it's because solar is an intermittent power source. They have to make sure that they can cover the power load when the sun is not out. And I know that's been a big problem with a lot of large-scale solar projects, is that a lot of people are taking advantage of this, solar credits and all of that. So there's been some issues there.
Well, the new panels also are producing power even if it's cloudy, I know that.
Yeah.
But not as much. And the other thing, the life expectancy of these solar farms about 20 years. That's why they want 20-year contracts. After that, there's probably maintenance involved in those panels.
So with those concerns, there would still be demand charges then?
Even if, let's say there wasn't the glitch between them and Central Maine Power, even if we signed this today, we wouldn't be getting until next year, the year after.
Next June.
Yeah.
One of the discussions that we had with them is that even, let's say we don't get on board with this, and everybody else in the state of Maine does, what's gonna happen is they're gonna get a discount, the price per kilowatt's gonna increase, and we're gonna be paying the increase. Because CMP's gonna make their money regardless. They get paid by a percentage, and no matter what, they're gonna get that percentage. And even if they have to increase the kilowatt price, they're gonna get it. So whether we sign this contract or any other contract, we should get on board with one of them.
I'd also be interested to know what the consultant says about, they talked a lot about environmental stewardship in the proposal that you sent along. And that's good, but I know that on a lot of these projects that it's not thought about end use and what's gonna happen with these solar fields when they've expired. So like, I would like to know whatever field we decide to buy, if it's Brooks or if it's something county or something like that, what they plan to do with the panels and what they plan to do for field cleanup. Because in 20 years, we could have a totally different power source. And like, I want to make sure that the farmland that everybody's buying up to put these solar panels up is returned into good working order. So I'd want the county to be cognizant of that.
Very good point.
He did say that when you guys want him, he'll come in, answer any questions you have, and discuss the contract in depth.
I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Breeze through discussion item, or let's go into executive session, a motion, and if someone would read that as it's printed to go into executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA, Section 4056, subsection 6, acquisition or use of real property.
Perfect. Been burned by that. Okay, all those in favor? Commissioner Poyer? Well, we'll put him down for an abstain, I guess. All right. You want to stand and stretch a minute, and let's.
Okay, if I could have those things that you signed.